Welcome to the Good News Mama podcast, a place to get in touch with other mamas, share the load, and know the Lord. Here we aim to lift each other up in the good news of Jesus and the laughter that comes with motherhood. We are a community of mamas just trying to keep the main thing the main thing. I'm your host, Lynn Carter, and each time you tune in, I pray you are encouraged, leave challenged, and breathe a sigh of relief that you are understood. I'd like to take a couple minutes and say thank you so much for being here. Especially want to shout out to Shauna Shearwater. She left a rating and review, said, "Great podcast, encouraging and challenging. Keep up the great work." Thanks, Shauna. I appreciate it. If you'd take the time to leave a rating, I'd really appreciate it too. I hope you enjoy this episode. We were not meant to do life alone, Mama. Thanks for joining in. Let's do this. Hey, Good News Mama. I know you are here for a reason, and I'm so glad that you are. Maybe you're pregnant right now, or maybe you have a friend that's pregnant and the pandemic is going on and you're a little bit on edge about what to expect. Well, I've got a friend with me today, Heidi Snyder. She talks about all the ins and outs of what to expect during COVID-19 because she's been there herself. She just gave birth to her baby Gage about 3 weeks ago. So I got with Heidi and we talked all things pregnancy and labor and delivery. We talked about prenatal appointments, what to expect, kind of what the hospital setting is like right now. We talked about afterbirth, communicating with your spouse, baby blues, and things that we wish we knew. Both of us have had 3 babies, and so it's just a fun time. We've got a lot of insight to share, a lot of I wish I knew this before it happened. So hopefully you'll get some advice, whether you're a first-time mom or a third-time mom like Heidi. But please stick around to the end. Heidi just shares a lot of great advice, and we had the best time. So I hope you're blessed. If you would, put some earbuds in for this one because it's not exactly G-rated. It's about pregnancy and afterbirth, and we don't hold back. We give you all the ins and outs, what to expect, and we just really wanted to put at bay some of the fears and anxieties associated with this time with COVID-19 because ultimately God's in control and your body knows what to do. So listen in for a word of encouragement, mamas, with Heidi Snyder on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. Thank you, girl.
Oh, well, thanks for reaching out to me. I appreciate being able to share some of the things that I've learned recently.
Oh, crazy, isn't it? Welcome to motherhood with 3, right? Trial by fire.
It's a little bit bananas.
Yes. Some things they just don't tell you about, right? But you're such an optimist and you got it under control. I love seeing your Facebook posts. They just do my heart good. It is so awesome. And your baby is adorable. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. I really appreciate that. He's doing well.
Yes, girl. And you're just glowing. You look so beautiful. I don't know how you're doing this. Like you don't even have bags under your eyes. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Here you go. All right. Snack covered.
That's right. Well, Heidi, why don't you start off telling us about yourself and give us a little background?
Okay. Well, I have been married, I guess, for 13 years now to my husband, Brandon. And we have 3 kids. So Ember, who is about to be 8 this summer, and she's in 2nd grade. And then I have Jet, who is 4. Then my newest one is Gage, and he is about to be a month old on Saturday.
Surprise, right? I don't think you were expecting Gage. He's a bonus baby, right?
Yes, yes, totally. We were done after Jet, and but God wasn't. So
that's right, girl. I love it.
So welcome Gage to the world.
Yes, and he is so beautiful. Oh my gosh, I can just tell you were just so happy to have him. Oh, yes.
I really am. It has been a really pleasant surprise. So,
well, tell me about your 3rd pregnancy. What was it like this go around?
It was fairly easy, to be honest. I don't know if I was so distracted by the other 2 that things just happened. But I feel like it went by pretty fast until the end. Obviously that 3rd trimester is always like 10 years long.
Yes, it is. I don't know why God designed it that way, but it does feel like it takes longer in the 3rd trimester than it took the entire pregnancy to get there. Right?
Yes. Definitely. But overall, no complications. I didn't really plan on being pregnant at 36, so that was a
Yeah.
little bit different on my body.
Yes, girl. I was. Hey, whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
But otherwise, no big complications. Everything was pretty smooth sailing. So,
Good.
there was kind of a relief there until obviously the pandemic began.
Yes. And thus enters the purpose of this podcast, right? Because you have gone where other women have yet to go. And some have been through it, but I have a few people that I know that are pregnant right now and they're a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. So I wanted to get you on
Yeah,
here and just tell me all the things. Like I know doctor's visits were different and then
they
birthing
were.
and everything. So why don't you just dive in and give us any advice?
Okay. Well, so I guess one of the biggest changes was, some of my appointments went to telehealth. So I had to, measure my belly myself and
Okay.
check my own blood pressure, and kind of do that by telehealth once or twice, just to limit the amount of visits that I was doing kind of in the office.
Yes.
Um, so that was different. I had never done a telehealth like OB visit.
Right.
um, and then, obviously I wasn't allowed to bring my other kids because I had started, I would always bring my 4-year-old with me to the appointments. So
Yeah.
that changed, no siblings at the appointments, and, wasn't bringing my husband or anyone to see ultrasounds or things like that. So I had to be,
Yeah.
kind of alone for those things.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a change from normal,
Yeah.
routine.
Did you try to record as they were doing it, or did Brandon just say like, no, this is my third kid, I'm good, I know what it's like?
Luckily, he was able to go to the anatomy scan, that big one at
Good.
like 20
Yeah.
weeks, and so he was able to see the baby then. So
Okay.
he just passed on the 36 week, the positioning ultrasound that we did,
Yeah.
since it was brief. But I did bring some pictures home to him. But
Yeah.
I think if I had to not have him at the anatomy scan, I definitely would have tried to zoom him in for a little bit,
Yeah. There you go.
because that one's a big one.
Yes, girl. I know the feeling.
but
Mm-hmm.
the rest of them, there was just checking to see if he was head down and in position at 36 weeks. So
Was
that
he?
one, yes, he was.
Girl.
Luckily, all of my babies have been cooperative to being head down,
Girl.
so no breech babies.
Not mine, girl. We were
Really.
praying Wade to flip around the whole time. Yes, I had myself up on an ironing board. I was tilted up in the air. I was using like hot compresses. I was doing spinning babies. We went before the church and had our hands laid on us and prayed and anointed. Yes, we did, girl. We wanted that baby to flip, and he did. Praise God, he did.
Well, good,
Yes,
good.
and it wouldn't have been the end of the world if he didn't, but I just really wanted to deliver in the midwifery center again, where I had delivered my first baby. So, yes,
Yeah,
I'm
and that
glad your babies listen. That's good.
yes,
That's a good sign.
they were fairly cooperative on at least getting the position right.
Yes. Well, there you go.
So,
Awesome.
but another change I would say is I started wearing masks to all my appointments. I would wait in the car and wait for the appointment. So I'd go in, I'd check in, use
Mhm.
hand sanitizer, obviously if I touched a pen or something.
I know.
And then
Yeah.
I'd go back to my car and wait for a text. And they would text me when it was time to, come up so that I could socially distance and not sit
Yeah.
in a waiting room. So that was different.
That
And
is
then
nice.
luckily my husband was like super paranoid. God love him. He's
Sounds
just
like
a worst
mine.
case scenario guy. So
So is
he
Ben.
ordered a
They get along
mask.
great.
Yes, he ordered a mask for our whole family.
Yes.
In like early January, like February, it was delivered. So I had my own cloth mask the whole
Yeah.
time. So I was able to use it for all my appointments. And it was a little different talking to my midwife, through a mask and wearing a
Yeah.
mask. But I did wear it, pretty much the whole visits when I had to start going in. So starting at about 35 weeks, I obviously like went in, didn't do the telehealth anymore, and
Yes.
was going in each week. So with a
Yeah.
mask and trying to be as careful as I could.
Yes.
So
obviously you didn't have much interaction with other people in the office except for your midwife. They kind of got you through. So that was nice that you didn't have to be exposed to other people. How did you
Yes.
do emotionally during that time? Like physically, you sound like you had it under control. You knew how to check your blood pressure. You measured your uterus. You had the mask on. Check, check, check. Mentally and emotionally and spiritually, what were you feeling during this whole time?
I was thinking a lot about this when, I was kind of pondering what I wanted to say. And I truly feel like it's kind of like grieving. That's the best way I can kind of describe it, because little things would catch me off guard, kind of like grief. It was the little things that I would least expect that would
Yeah.
upset me. Like, with my first two babies, I went and got a pedicure before baby, and I got my toes done, and
Yeah.
they were always pretty and beautiful. And, the realization that I couldn't do
Yeah.
that tradition was hard. And then my baby shower, obviously planned for April, got canceled.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I was grieving the loss of being able to celebrate my baby, which was a little bit,
Yeah.
more difficult. Because those were the things that, you feel like are kind of a given. You're like, oh, I'll just be able to get together with my friends and family and have that baby shower. So we had to get a little creative, and people dropped off gifts at the door, and we stood 6 feet
Oh.
apart, and I opened them,
Oh,
and
great.
that sort of thing. So I think trying to focus on the hope and the joy and the positivity, and that there was still a ton of people that were celebrating my baby, even if we couldn't
Yes.
do it in a big room
Yes.
in a crowded space.
Yes. With lots of yummy
um,
food and balloons and fun
ex-
baby stuff and oohs and
exactly.
ahs. Yes. All the things that should be guaranteed when you're about to have a baby, right?
Yes, yes. So it was a bit like grieving, it was
Yeah.
it was the little things that would kind of catch you off guard, that I had to kind of just keep telling myself, okay, one more step. We're still healthy. We're
Yes.
still, I have a ton of blessings. I still have a roof over my head. My husband still had a job. He didn't get laid off.
Yes.
So I tried to, really just mentally focus on those things. And, keeping in contact with people, even if it was by, phone or text message or things like
Mhm.
that.
And social media too, because we can do live stuff now, and
Yes.
that's the second runner up, right? You can still see people, but it's not the same, but it's nice to be able to do that, right? You gotta think I'm glad
Yes,
you're focusing on the
definitely.
positive. So, and the way that you mentioned that is so interesting because I can imagine how you're feeling because I have 3 kids of my own. So, like, for that pregnancy, the grief because you knew what comes with it because you got to experience that before.
Mhm.
What would you say to the mama that's never had a baby? This is her first baby, and she is just undone and not really sure. Because I remember, I think as a first time mom, you have all these emotions and questions and what is labor going to be like? What, in general, right? Well, you knew what labor was going to be like because you did it twice before. So you have been through that, thank goodness. But for the mama that's a little nervous about labor and delivery in general, and then throw in the pandemic, what would you say to that mama that's dealing with all these changes right now? Did you have any advice?
Yeah, I think I would say, um, you know, it, all the extra stuff, it doesn't really matter when it comes down to it. Like,
Yeah.
having that healthy baby and that healthy birth is really the important part.
Yeah.
So, I didn't get to go out and like buy things in advance. I honestly, because we weren't expecting this baby, I had gotten rid of everything. So I have like a bassinet and a boppy, and that is it. But you know what? He's still happy. He's
Yeah.
still healthy. I still was able to have my husband there when I delivered. I've still been able to share him over Zoom.
Yeah.
So, it's nice to have all the stuff and all the
Yeah.
things, and the fancy wipe warmer or the this or that. But
Yeah.
really, you just have to let it go a little bit. I guess that would be my
Yeah.
biggest advice, is just let it go. It doesn't matter if as long as you got some diapers and some
There
wipes.
there you go. The
you know,
must-haves, right?
yeah, as long as you've got the essentials,
Yeah.
and utilize, utilize everything at your fingertips. The online deliveries, the grocery deliveries has been a life send for me. I remember with
Yes.
my first baby, that didn't exist.
Mhm.
I always had to haul my baby everywhere. Now I can have my groceries at my door by Instacart. I can, pick them up
Wow.
online, in the Walmart parking lot or something like that. And I don't have to drag my kids in places. So,
Yeah.
utilize every resource you can, but try to let things go a little bit,
Yeah.
because when it comes down to it, it's the big things that really
Yes.
matter, and try to focus on the things you can control.
Yes. And
'Cause
you're
there's a
holding
lot.
him right now, right? Are you nursing
I
him?
am. I am. I'm not nursing him right now, but
Oh,
he's
there he
he's
is. Hey,
he's
handsome. Oh, yes. He's so beautiful. Oh, look at all
he
that hair.
he
Girl, he is
does have a lot of
glowing.
hair.
Yes. Did you have a lot of heartburn? Is
Yes,
that what that
with all
means?
babies. Always the
Yes.
Tums with the heartburn.
What was your labor and delivery like? You said Brandon was able to be there and you obviously had to wear masks going in and checking in and stuff like that. How did it compare the actual delivery part to your other two?
Yeah, so, my midwife, she said to me in advance, and this was something that I had never experienced before. She said, Heidi, I want you to be mentally prepared for anything to change in your birth plan.
Yeah.
She's like, every day the rules are changing. She said, I went in one day and you could have your doula. I went in another day, they weren't letting doulas. I went in one day, you could have your spouse. I went in another day, you couldn't have your spouse. And
Wow.
she was like, I need you to be mentally prepared for anything to change and anything on your birth plan to kind of go awry, but you still being okay. She's like, I need you
Yes.
to be mentally prepared to be okay either way.
Yes.
Um, and it was scary to hear at first, but I'm really glad she said it to me, because I did feel like I could, think about it. I could pray on it. I could look
Yes.
up scripture. I could really focus on the things that were going to get me through, whether I could have the people there that I wanted.
Yeah.
My mom has been at every delivery of in the room with my other two children, and
Yeah.
this time she wasn't allowed to travel. She wasn't allowed to be there.
Wow.
She wasn't in the room with me, and so I had to, just mentally prepare that in advance.
Yeah.
I did try to labor at home a little bit longer than I normally would have. Um, and I've never had a C-section, so I
Yeah.
can't speak to those mamas.
Yes, I haven't
I've
either,
done,
but yep.
yeah, I've done vaginal with the 3, and
Yeah.
I've always gone early. So these guys have always been born between 36 and 38 weeks. So
Shut your
my
mouth.
eviction notice is
Shut your
strong.
mouth. Girl, all mine were late. They just kept getting later and later. First
They
one, 2
just
days
wait
late. Second
forever.
one, 6 days late. Third one, 8 or 9 days late. I'm like, "Come on, this is not permanent residency. Get out," right? So that's awesome. You were able to have yours early. What's
Yes.
that like?
But I had said to my husband, I said, I just don't want to be in labor on my birthday. That's the only thing. It was April 18th. He was
Yeah.
due May 3rd. So I was
Okay.
like, I just got to hang on, just not have him on my birthday. And my husband got me Outback Steakhouse because I was like, I want a steak dinner for my birthday.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, he had to get it to go
Right?
and like pick it up curbside and bring it home, in the pandemic. But I ate that steak meal, and I went into labor
On your birthday?
on my
No,
birthday.
girl.
So my contraction started around 6 o'clock, and I tried to labor at home because I really didn't want to be sent home, and my water hadn't broken. And
Yeah.
I don't know if this was my experience, but I went in twice with both my other babies thinking, this is it. This is the
Yeah.
time. And I get in there, and then they send you
Nope.
home, and it is like the walk of shame. You're like, oh, I just really wanted to have this baby, and you have to leave
Yes.
the hospital. And because of the pandemic, I was worried about taking multiple trips to the hospital.
Yeah.
I really wanted it to be go time if
Right.
we went.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's your third baby, right? So you're
right?
like, wait a
So
second.
I should know.
This story, yeah, but no, not like that. No, no, no. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it like that. I meant it like most of the time people are like, you better not labor too long at home because you might have that baby at home, right? Because he's going to come faster than the other two. That's what everybody kept telling me.
Telling you.
Not so. Not so at all. But proceed. Go ahead with
Okay.
yours. So you labored at
So
home.
I labored at home as long as possible, and my contractions were like 2 to 3 minutes apart.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I think it's go time, and
Mhm.
I told my husband, well, then we had to drop off the dogs and drop off the kids with their aunt and uncle to like watch all the other children
Mhm.
and dogs. And um, it took a little longer than I anticipated to do all that because my husband took a wrong turn and
Oh.
because, he's obviously trying to drive quickly.
Yes, he's a little
Um,
stressed.
so we dropped off the kids and I arrived at the hospital about 8:45, and they got me upstairs and I was only on the monitor for 16 minutes and he was born.
Girl,
So
that's a
I pushed him
dream.
out.
In
It
case you
really
haven't had a kid yet, in case you're a
that
stepmom
is
listening to
yeah,
this or an adopted mom and you've not actually birthed a kid yet, Heidi, wow,
I know.
that's good, girl.
It was fast and furious. I remember they brought me in the delivery room and I introduced myself. Obviously, I was wearing a mask the whole time. I walked from the car to the elevator up to the second floor here at the hospital. And I wore a mask. My husband wore a mask. Everyone who greeted us wore a mask. They had us wash our hands as we entered
Okay.
for safety. And then they brought us in the delivery room. I did take my mask off once I got in the room and got a gown on because, we asked them and they said, no, it's totally okay. And they tried to keep one nurse in at a time, like entering,
Mhm.
with mask and following procedures. So they were
Mhm.
really good about being conscious about the virus too. Um, but I told them they needed to get the doctor. The doctor did not make it. So a
Okay.
nurse delivered my baby
Nice.
because I probably waited a little too long. I really did. I probably should have gone sooner. So he was born at 9:21 after getting
Wow.
there. And
On your birthday.
on my
Yeah.
birthday, I
The one
know.
day
It's
you
like,
didn't want.
the one day I didn't want. So, the advice from my midwife about throw your birth plan out the window, that was probably good because
Yep.
it was going to be the one day that I didn't
Yep.
want or
One
desire
day
to
to
share
yourself.
my.
You just wanted one day to be your
I,
day, right?
I was like, I really don't want to be in labor on my birthday.
Right?
Like the ultimate of like things that you have to do for someone else.
There you go.
I didn't want to do that on my birthday, but
Such a mom to lay down your own wishes and
but at
desires for
least
your
at least I had a fast delivery. So
yeah.
and I honestly I was praying over that and I was talking to God through it and I was just like, please just I said to my husband as we were walking up, I was like, I am in so much pain. I have done drug-free deliveries with all my babies.
Yeah.
And I had said to my husband as I was walking up, I was like, look, if they check me and I'm a 3, I'm just going to go for the epidural this time because
Yeah.
this pain is too much. And when
Yes.
they checked me, I was an 8. And I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
So, and I was really trying to use gravity. In
Mhm.
my mind, I was trying to think about gravity. I stayed walking all the way until the 16 minutes before I pushed him out.
Yeah.
I was trying to relax. And I
Yeah.
feel like labor is really a mental game too. Like it's really mental and
Yes,
the
girl.
mental recovery and the mental fight that you have to go through. So I do feel like I was in a good place mentally because I had tried to let a lot of things go
Yeah.
of the plan.
Yes.
I was trying to use gravity and stay walking,
Yeah.
and I was really trying to relax and not fight the contractions and relax
Mhm.
my body because I felt like with my first and second one, I fought the contractions a lot and I, clenched and I
Uh-huh.
was really trying to fight the delivery. And I think I did a really good job this time of just trying to mentally overpower that and like relax
Yeah.
and let it happen. So
Yes.
that would be another piece of advice I would say is try not to fight it. Try to
Yes.
let it happen, because that really worked for me this time around.
That is great advice. I too have had drug-free deliveries for my babies, but the third one with Trent, he being the third baby, and my doula said that. She's like, "Sometimes those third babies, they throw you for a doozy, like, they might not cooperate as well." And lo and behold, he did not, but
You did not.
he was head down, and the cord was around his neck, which is why he wasn't dropping down in the birth canal, but I was feeling every bit of, "Why am I not 8 centimeters, 9 centimeter," and same thing, exact thing, just I think at that point had been hurting for so long and not dilating really and progressing that
Mm,
mentally it was very draining, and you have to
yes.
really kind of refocus on what's important and making sure that the baby's healthy, and medication is good. It's got its purpose,
Yes,
right? And
it
so
does
if
have
you
its
need it,
purpose.
get it for sure. And I had to have
Yes.
Pitocin, which is not the kind of medicine you want. Pitocin is going to make your contractions stronger,
Stronger.
but that's for the purpose of them, right? Because they
Mhm.
are trying to get your baby out and get you
Out.
dilated enough. So
Yes.
I got that. So I did have Pitocin contractions, which I don't favor those. I would prefer to have natural contractions. They're a little bit rough, but in the end, when I think that hearing you say that now with my third baby, I think, ironically enough, that's the baby that I did not relax into the contractions like I
Contractions.
should have, and we didn't know, like, his heart rate was going up at some times, and we weren't sure what was going on, um but finally, after I finally tapped out and said, "Okay, I'm just gonna need the epidural," right? Like, I think I said that at least 2 or 3 times, and then my doula would remind me, like, "Well, let's just give it 30 more minutes, just 30 more minutes, and then we'll see where we're at." And so I was thinking to myself, "This is the last 30 minutes y'all are getting. I don't care what you say. Give me those drugs right now." So it's so
Right?
funny that you say that because as soon as I said, "Listen, I've been laboring for 12 hours," whatever it was, like strong
Mhm.
contractions, as soon as I did that, my body relaxed and the baby started to come right then.
Come.
Like literally, the nurse had left the room to tell the doctor that I needed an epidural. The doula had left the room to, see where the nurse kind of follow up with that. Ben was in the room and Ben's running out the door like, "Hey, hey, she's pushing." And really, it's so funny because I've heard before that you can actually voluntarily push or the baby will start to come.
Start.
And right. And
Mhm.
the first two, I was doing the pushing for sure.
Yeah.
The third baby, he
I
started
think
to
he
come out
was
on his own. And
pushing.
that was the weirdest feeling because I didn't experience that with the other two. And so it was like you said, like I let my body relax. And I remember at that point, and I feel like maybe God just turned his chin a little bit because his chin was tucked the wrong way and he had the cord wrapped around
Mm,
his neck and all these fun things that can happen. But when I
yes.
finally let go mentally of it's okay to go
Just
against what you want,
yes.
then my body
Mhm.
did what it was supposed to do. So
Yeah.
praise God for that, and you spoke truth, so much truth in that just alone. That was bringing back flashbacks for me. Ben would be
Well,
like, "Let's not talk about it. That was the most stressful." Listen,
I
girl, that man will get up at 3:30, 4 a.m. to go duck hunting and stay up the entire next day, 24 hours, and not feel a thing. But yet he has to stay up one night while I'm in labor. He said, "I felt like I was just mentally feeling all the stuff you were feeling." He's like, "I know I wasn't pushing that baby out, but I was so tired that I was exhausted." And I'm thinking, "Yeah, honey, you were really exhausted. I'm so glad that you."
That's my husband every time. I feel like him watching me go through the pain, like, and he
Yeah,
can't take it away, just like mentally exhausts him.
yes,
But
yes.
yeah, he's always like exhausted afterward.
I'm just thinking, really? You just watched the whole time? But I will give him credit because I had horrible back labor. Counter
Mm,
pressure to that back labor
yes.
is golden.
Awesome.
Just get somebody to push on
Awesome.
your back, ladies. You will love it. I even had this big birth tub because I delivered in a midwifery center, so they had
Okay.
this really nice setup with this huge like hot tub thing, and I wanted to get in that water, and they said that I could, but I said, "Well, is he gonna be able to push on my back? Because if he's not, I'm not getting in that
I'm
water.
not
Like
getting
I
in
need
it.
I need that pressure." And so they were like, "Yes, he can still push on your back." So,
You
um,
know, it's funny you say that because with my first first, I sat on a ball and like labored on a
Mhm.
ball for a long time until I delivered her. With my second, with Jet, I was able to get in a tub, and
Yep.
that helped me actually relax. So
Yes.
by the time I got in the tub, and then obviously, that it helped me relax, I was able to do the tub with Jet, and that was able to get me, to the finish line. And
Yeah.
then with Gage, I was like, all right, I'm going to do the tub. I'm going to do the ball. Like I've got all these plans. Yeah, I walked from the car to the delivery room. So I was like, all right, well, I didn't get to do any of those things, but knowing that they were still there and they
Yeah.
were ready for me, like, it was a good thing. It was a
Yes.
good thing.
Yeah. Speaking of labor and delivery and just thinking of first time moms going through this right now, can you think of anything that you're like, man, I wish I knew that before I had this baby? Nobody told me to expect this, like right after delivery, or just be prepared. Anything that you would say, put in your birth bag, or make sure that you mentally prepare for this, or have your husband bring these fun snacks because you're going to want them right away, something like that.
Yeah, so the first thing I would say pandemic related is our hospital's cafeteria and grill were closed. The only thing they had was some prepackaged snacks and sandwiches downstairs. So I should have brought more snacks than I did, definitely knowing that right now services are kind of closed down. Because I think one meal I ordered, I think it was like pasta with some spaghetti sauce and like broccoli. And I think it was like 100 calories. And I was like, I am a starving breastfeeding mama here. Like, I need more than 100 calories.
Where's the chocolate?
So
Where's the peanut butter? Give me
yes, I
pasta.
went through all my snacks in my bag, and my husband ended up getting me a prepackaged salad downstairs with like ranch dressing at like 10 o'clock at night because I was starving. And that was the only time he actually left the room because right now they want you to enter with everything. So you enter with the car seat, with the boppy,
Oh,
with everything when you check in. And I wasn't used to that. Normally you go back to the car, you get it
yeah.
later, like you get it before you leave. My husband was going to check on the kids. None of that was allowed to
Yeah.
happen. So once he entered and was screened, he had to stay in the room with me the whole time. And I ended up staying 2 nights since he was born so late at night.
Yeah.
Um, and I should have brought more snacks and been, a little more prepared. They did give him a complimentary meal in the room every night and every meal, so at least he was covered. But definitely more snacks right now because you can't just order something and you can't get more food, and the grills were
Wow.
closed. So I definitely wish I had, more snacks to be prepared.
I'm glad you
And
brought
then
that up because I remember hammering apple juice, and they had this cooler around the hallway that they would let us get apple juices. And I'm like, I don't care. I want another one. Just go get another one.
just go.
And then I just keep going and getting apple juice. I don't know what it was, but after one of my deliveries. And so they didn't even let him get out to get ice for you and stuff like that. Like y'all were in line.
No, so they brought it to the room for us. They actually brought me juice. I'm another one. I think it's interesting you say that. I love juice after delivery. I did cranberry juice, and the nurse would bring me cranberry juice and a cup of like a big thing, a pitcher of ice water, kind of around the clock. Anytime the nurse came in, I would have them grab me juice. But that little room that they normally have like little snacks and like juice for your husband to like go get,
Mhm.
that was shut down,
Yep.
and it wasn't allowed. The other thing they told me is like anything brought in the room they throw away. So they were like, take it home with you if you haven't consumed it. So
Yeah.
we emptied everything out. Obviously not the gowns and stuff; those stay.
Right.
But due to the virus, they don't allow anything to be, reutilized. So
That's
if it's in
comforting
your
too.
room, use
Yeah.
it, take it home if it's disposable because it's going to be disposed of. Um, so definitely more snacks. Non-pandemic related, I would say for me, the physical recovery is not as difficult as the mental recovery. I always kind of suffer a lot of just emotional baby blues and
Yeah.
hormone drops and having the sweats. I know that sounds really gross, but
No,
the
girl,
heart
that's what I want to talk about
racing
is all the things.
and the
'Cause I'm getting ready to have my
sweats.
turn in a second, and it's not going to be
Okay.
pretty. So go ahead.
Like I just, that first time you get to sleep, even if it's for an hour, and you just wake up just drenched in sweats, and just the mental recovery of understanding understanding, hey, my body's going through recovery too,
Yep.
is just really something that I have to try to focus my efforts on being really positive and understanding this is all natural. This
Yep.
is what my body needs to go through. Like, it's
Yep.
okay. And finding those times, like I try to get up and shower at the hospital because I find it just makes me feel a lot
Yes.
better. So
Well,
warmth, I normally bring a heating pad with me.
yeah.
I have this little electric heating pad that I bring and I plug in and I sit on it.
I wish I had
It's
done that.
it's amazing. I
Oh,
highly recommend it. I mean, they can bring you little like breakable heating pads to kind of put in that
yeah.
area for you. But ask the nurses for all of their tricks. I mean, they will bring you the witch hazel pads, the
Yes.
dermoplast, the cold packs, like all
Yes.
those things. But only sometimes if you ask. So
Right.
ask them what their tricks are and let them bring them out. But I highly recommend heat, a hot shower, a heating pad, anything like that that just kind of helps you mentally recover.
Yes, absolutely. You said it's so funny that you're saying some of these same things because what I wasn't expecting right after birth was the after pains with nursing and attempting to
Ooh,
nurse. I
yes,
actually was it's so funny, I had my whole entire labor and delivery without medication and then had ibuprofen after for the after pains after birth because
yes,
they kind of, for me, flooded the fronts of my thighs with the nursing, and it's
yes.
really all related to your uterus
Your uterus
contracting again, so
contracting.
getting
I know.
back down.
And you don't think that when the baby latches, your
Oh.
uterus is going to contract. You're like, how is this connected?
Oh my gosh, it is. It's so connected. And I know it's for a purpose and you want it to
It
because that's how your
is.
body's going back to normal. But oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay. So number 1, breastfeeding is not as natural as people say it is,
It's
right? It is not. I'm sorry.
no.
I took a class on it before I did had the baby and stuff. I'm so glad that I did because that little sucker will rip your nipple off if you're not careful. And I'm going to put a disclaimer
Yes.
at the beginning of this that put in your headphones for your kids because this is not G rated. This version is
No, this is not G
so,
rated.
yes, you better have that latch deep, and you better tell that baby you're gonna stuff that boob in his mouth because it
Yes.
will hurt if you don't do that part right. So, number 1, yowzer for the breastfeeding. Did not realize how that was gonna be. So, that's where
I
my
love that
advice.
you took a class on that. That's the one
Yes,
regret I have with going into childbirth is I did not take a breastfeeding class.
right.
And I wish I had because my first daughter, she had latch issues like crazy. She actually was only 5 pounds, 3 ounces when she was born.
Oh,
And so she had difficulty suckling at 36 weeks. So she was my least strong baby.
right.
So I had to utilize a lactation consultant and a nipple shield for about a month until, she
Mhm.
really got her latch down and her ability to suckle physically. And I just didn't know those issues could happen with
Yes.
babies. So yes, if I had to take a class,
Sometimes.
I wish I had taken a breastfeeding
Girl.
class because
Well, now we've got
I
Google,
thought,
right?
monkeys do it and all these animals do it. Like, how do they manage? And I
Mhm.
can't as a person. Like, if it wasn't for my mom literally yelling at me, like my mom, she is such a breastfeeding supporter. She was like, Heidi, you were gonna do this. I mean, because my husband was ready to tap out. He's like, if it's too hard, baby, we'll
There
just
you
we'll just
go.
give him this bottle.
Well, and that's the thing, right? There's so much pressure that you've got to do it a certain way. And I felt that pressure for myself because I wanted to so badly. But mamas,
Hmm.
if you're hearing this and it didn't work
Oh,
for
fed
you,
is best.
that is best. And do not feel
Yes.
guilty because that suckling, that latching, that technique, the engorgement, the mastitis, if they have tongue ties where they're not able to get a good latch, that is not your fault, right? So do not
Hmm.
suffer and let yourself get discouraged and depressed because ultimately you have your baby's going to grow as you feed it. So, but
Yes.
I will say 100% that's why I recommend if you're going to breastfeed, putting in your bag nipple butter. I don't even
Yes.
remember the name of it. It was like Earth Mama, I think was the one
I
that
think that's what I have. Earth
use.
Mama
Earth
nipple
Mama is this
butter.
little teeny jar, nipple butter, and you better grease them things up before and after because they will crack. I mean, it was awful at first, but it got so much better as your milk came in and, you got the hang
Yes.
of it. It was just I really and honestly, I never even used the whole bottle, like, I got a new one for each kid, and I mean, I used maybe, like, a quarter of the bottle or half of the bottle, but I never emptied the whole thing out, but in the hospital bag, I was so, so glad, especially with my first child, that I had that stuff, so that would definitely go in my bag if I was giving birth. pandemic or non-pandemic for sure. And then you said the showers. Oh my gosh, when I got home with the baby and
Okay.
Ben was like, "Didn't you just have a shower last night?" I'm like, "You better shut up." I said, "I will take as many showers as I
Showers as
want.
I want.
I've been up all night. This refreshes me." Like, it was hilarious. He's like,
Yes.
"Whoa, no problem. Just asking," you know. I'm just like all the showers over and over. I just would take showers to liven myself
It's
up.
yeah, it's definitely a mental, like, you have to find ways to give yourself a break, even if that's going to get a cup of hot tea and
Yep.
you put the baby down. I mean, like, I have had to take a shower while the baby's crying. Just put the baby in the
Yes.
bassinet, make sure the
Yes.
baby's safe. It's okay if he cries, if
Yes.
I mentally need a hot shower, if I need to have a cup of tea,
Yep.
like, whatever I need to do,
Yes.
just you got to do it,
Yes.
because you got to take care of yourself too.
It's so funny. I just had
So,
another guest on that was talking about a prayer chair, and this would work good for
okay.
you too because you have kids that are under 10. But she said she would designate this one chair as her prayer chair, and
Okay.
she would tell her kids, "The mommy's in her prayer chair. Like, I'm not gonna stay here all day, but I'm in the prayer chair right now, so don't talk to me. I need this time with Jesus so that I don't hurt you or hurt your children or hurt my other children," just basically like
Yes.
kind of like our boundaries, basically set good boundaries with your kids too. And how have your kids adapted to all this?
So my daughter's a homebody and she really likes online learning. And she said to me, she said, "Mama, I just love being home with you every day." And I'm like, "Ooh, I wish that feeling was mutual, baby." Because I really wish I had a babysitter right now.
Yes.
But so she loves it. She loves being at home. Her teacher has been amazing doing online learning. They do it 1 hour a day, and then she does story time every night, and they get their pillows and their blankets, and
Oh,
the teacher reads
wow.
them a story every night, which has been awesome. She loves it, and Jet, my 4-year-old, gets to be there for story
That is
time, so it's bringing
awesome.
in the whole family. But I think my 4-year-old has struggled the most. He had a lot of, mommy and him time, and we would do
Mhm.
things together, just him and I, after we dropped Sissy off at school. So I think he's going through a little bit of defiance and having to wait for mommy. So he's resorted to being upset when I have to feed the baby or I have to
Mhm.
sit there. So he's struggling a little with that and not
Yeah.
being able to go. He says, why can't I have a play date? Why can't I, go to
Yeah.
Bible study or something like that?
Yeah.
So I think he's struggling a little more than my older daughter has because she's still able to get on and Zoom and talk to her friends and
Yes.
get those outlets. And he really can't do that at 4.
Yes.
So
My kids have asked me similar things, and I'm like, "Well, it's because of the sickness right now." And then sometimes they'll come up to me and say, "Mommy, when this sickness is over, can we da da da?" I'm like, "Yeah, we'll do that for
yeah.
sure." Like, I just don't really understand how I should explain it to them. So I just said, "Well, there's a little sickness going around right now, so we just want to keep everybody safe, and we'll see them
Safe.
soon." Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you say that too. And at 4 years old, that's a good age. I don't know if you're pumping or not, but maybe if you pump some milk and let him try to feed the baby with you
Feed
or
the
so,
baby.
do something like that. Because my middle child, he is my cuddliest of all of them,
Yes,
for sure.
yes.
We'll snuggle right
That's
up
my
to
Jet. He's like,
yeah.
"Sit on the couch and cuddle with me, mama."
Mhm.
You know?
Exactly. So that is so funny that you say that, but that is great advice. All of
Yeah.
that.
I definitely pump, and I normally pump for dad so that I can sleep and he can, shift,
There you
take a
go.
shift a baby.
Yes,
So maybe I'll try
girl.
one with Jet.
And I don't know how long you breastfed. I always tried to make it to the year mark, but
Okay.
I definitely wish that I had on my 3rd baby, I had pumped a little bit more in the beginning because I feel like it establishes your milk supply so much better, and I really did
Mhm.
not start pumping until right before I was about to go back to work because I didn't want I didn't like the pump, right?
Right? Like,
And so it really what it did for me was it made me a little more stressed toward the end when they start taking more solids and my supply starts dropping off like I
dropping.
wanted to. Yeah. So, yeah,
I
girl, I
agree.
wish
I
I had
think I think in the beginning I do a lot of oatmeal because I find that helps with supply.
yeah.
And I found a product this time that I hadn't used with my other babies. I think it's I don't know how to pronounce it. It's just a silicone, like milk catcher, basically, that you can wear either in your nursing like bra, and it just catches the leaks. And you would be amazed. Like I will put away like 2 to 3 ounces of milk just in the
Amazing.
leaks,
Yes.
which is really cool because that's different than the pads. I had always used the pads in the
Yep.
past, and this time you had the milk catcher. I also have like a passive cup that if I'm nursing him on one side, I can put it on the other side, and it will
Yes.
get 2 to 3 ounces just passively
Yes.
on. And it's just a silicone. I think it's called the Haka, Hakaa. And I think it's like $10 or $15, super cheap. But I
That
found
sounds
that
worth it.
right, I can passively catch instead of having to pump all the time, because I'm kind of like you. I really don't like pumping and don't like to have to do it and sit there and sit for more time than I'm already breastfeeding. But
Mm-hmm.
it's finding these two products have been really great with this pregnancy, and I don't remember them existing with my last couple
I
pregnancies.
don't
So
either. I remember a friend telling me about that milk catcher one that you're talking about, and I'm like, oh gosh, that would have been so good because there's no controlling it. They're just everywhere. Milk
everywhere.
everywhere.
I know, and you waste it. So
Right.
yeah, I've been able to put like 5 ounces away just passively catching, which per
Yeah.
day, which is really
I remember
nice.
seeing the meme that whoever said never cry over spilled milk obviously never breastfed, right?
Breastfed.
Because
Yeah.
every bit, you're just like, don't waste that. Like even the length of time that it would last for leftovers and stuff, I would tell my husband, no, it's still good. Mix a little fresh in there. It's only like this many hours old. It's fine. And he'd
It's
be
fine.
like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, you throw that away. I will kill you. Okay. Just do what I say.
Yes.
All the things like that.
Absolutely.
One more grievance I have that I want to share, and it's a little more
Okay.
graphic, but I remember being excited before I even got pregnant, thinking about the fact that for 9 months I wouldn't have a period, right? I was
Oh,
so
yes.
excited about that. Little did I know that right after you deliver, you will fully make up for all the time that you
All
did
the
not have your
time.
period, right?
All the
So make
time.
sure that you have plenty of pads, plenty of backups, because I think literally it was like 3 weeks for me just to stop with all the flow
Stop.
and the recovery part. The labor pains, I mean the after pains with nursing didn't last that long for sure, but just the final, I'm like, okay, are we done yet? This is the longest period ever,
Nope.
right?
No, but I was just
So,
reading a little bit about that because I was talking to my sister-in-law. She's having her first, and I gave her some poise pads, which are like my secret weapon. I buy a pack of poise pads in my third trimester because, just peeing your pants when you sneeze and when you
it's
laugh,
no fun.
it's just not fun. So I just start wearing those poise pads like in the
Yeah,
third trimester so that I can just pee in peace,
right.
and just not worry about it, and I can still
Yeah,
exercise. And
yeah,
then I use them after baby, obviously, once I get home,
yeah,
and I wear them for a while. I'm still bleeding a little bit, and I'm reaching the 4 week mark, so
yeah.
that's a little unfun.
I
But
feel ya.
they said it's different after every baby. I think I stopped a little earlier with the other babies, so
Yeah.
this one's still going. But
Well,
definitely having the pads and having different size pads too, because you don't
yes.
want the hospital gives you those big bulky ones, but
They're like
you don't
diapers.
want to keep that after so many days, and you got to keep kind of stepping down in size,
Yeah.
so
Oh, I will say in the hospital, having an
definitely.
ice pack to put in those diapers was phenomenal. That really helped a
Yes,
lot for
I
sure.
know. And you would think, why would I want to put an
I
ice
know.
pack? But
And
yes,
then I think with
yes.
my first, I had to have a sitz bath. I tore a little bit delivering. He was my first baby. And I
Yes.
remember being in the tub and then the midwife looking at me and saying, you need to get out and you need to push him out right now. That's what she said basically. And I'm like, okay, this is go time, right? Like there's no more messing around here. When I like connected with her and heard that, it was like his heart rate is coming up. You need to, or
You need to
dropping or
do it.
whatever it was. Yeah. And so at that point, yeah, I tore a little bit with that one. And it's like a nice little warm pool bath that you can use.
Pool.
Yeah. And
Hmm.
that really helped a lot too. So if you
I
guys,
don't know what it is about warmth, but there is something magical about just some heat. It
yeah.
really is.
Yes, yes, girl. I wish I had thought about bringing a heating pad to the hospital, though. That was a great tip for
Oh, yeah.
sure. You said you didn't take any classes for breastfeeding. Did you and
I
Brandon do any
didn't.
before your first baby or?
I didn't. We were moving at the time. I moved when I was like 7 or 8 months pregnant with my daughter from Chicago to Arizona. And I was working and I didn't know anyone. And I had to find an OB in like, my very late third
Mhm.
trimester. So that ship had kind of sailed, unfortunately. And then with the second one, I was like, oh, I'm already a pro, um, which in hindsight, I probably still could have used some, classes or at least a breastfeeding class because I had a little bit of mental anxiety because of how hard breastfeeding was with my daughter and having
Mhm.
her latch and those sort of things, and really trying to latch right away, which was a technique that I really didn't utilize with my first. So I didn't use a midwife for my first baby, and I
Mhm.
highly recommend a midwife or a doula. I just really love that model of spending more time, with you and just being a little more um, less medical and a little
Yeah.
more caring, I find.
Yeah.
So I switched to a midwife with my second, and I stayed with a midwife with my third. And they just gave me some really good advice on that. And I wish I had done a breastfeeding class because I had a little bit of anxiety. But Jet was a trooper. He was like a Hoover vacuum. He just
Yeah.
latched right away, and I was like, oh, God, you gave me just what I needed because
Yeah.
that was my anxiety, for Jet. And then my anxiety with him obviously was having a baby in a pandemic and
Yeah.
coming home from the hospital and not bringing COVID home with me,
Right.
and having that fast birth, getting in and getting out. And,
Yes.
and God gave that to me this time too.
Yes.
So that was really helpful.
That's so good for sure. Yeah, man, you've hit on some really good stuff. Thank you so much. This has been fun. Do you have any
Yes.
any advice for mamas communicating with their spouses? As far as you mentioned how Brandon was kind of a nervous Nelly, which I feel like Ben is the same way completely. Like Ben didn't buy masks back in January, but Ben is like a constant, like revolving, like making me think of all the things. I'm the one in La La Land. I'm the one, it'll be all right. I don't anything up right. The only reason we took the birth classes is because I wanted to have a doula and use the midwifery center, and we had to have the birth
Have them.
classes, which I'm so glad I did. And Ben's thinking he can deliver the baby in the car because he knows so much more, right? After these classes that he had to go to. I'm like, slow down, killer, slow down. Like we're not we're not testing that theory.
Yep.
So yeah, basically, I think that because Ben and I had that experience with the birth classes, we were on the same page about a lot of it. But did you find that you and Brandon had to sit down and talk about anything or any advice for moms with when they're thinking about talking to their partners about, hey, I'm feeling a certain way? Did
Feeling.
that help you a lot talking out your feelings to him?
Yeah, I feel like being honest, and you think it's going to be easy to do, to be honest, but I find that it's not always that easy to be honest. Like, I love to serve my family. So, my personality, I try not to let people down and I try to, be strong for my husband and those sort of things. But, I've really learned that I have to be honest. And I'll be honest, I'll share, Mother's Day, I was really struggling, not having grandparents come in, not having babysitters, not being able to just drive to Chick-fil-A and put my kids in the play place for an hour. But Mother's Day with a newborn is not really a break. And I was really struggling, and I was suffering some baby blues and crying. And
Yeah,
it was dinner time, and I was trying to cook something, and I looked at my husband, and I just had tears running down my face. Like it just got away with me in that moment, and I was like, this is not the Mother's Day. This is
yeah,
not having my mother here, like not being able to
yeah,
buy a Mother's Day gift for my family, or
yeah,
all of the things. And my husband came over to me and he's like, what's wrong? And I wanted to say, I'm fine, I'm good,
yeah,
like I'm just powering through it. But I had to look at him and I had to say, I'm feeling really bad right now. I was like,
yeah,
I need a break. And I'm just feeling really sad, and I had to hand him the baby and I had to walk away and I had
yeah,
to just, give myself a minute and be honest with him.
Yes.
And I told him, I said, I'm looking at my 3 kids and I'm just not feeling the joy at the moment. Like I am
Somebody
not
take
feeling
them.
the joy.
Somebody take them.
Right.
And it's okay to feel that way, girl.
It
Everybody.
is. It's
Gosh, everybody.
natural. Like it's
Please, I know.
totally,
Please
I
understand.
mean, it's hormones and so I just have realized that I need to be honest, even if I don't like what's coming out of my mouth and
Yeah.
I'm saying it, as long as I'm saying it in an honest way to him, like I am so overwhelmed or whatever, as long as
Yeah.
I can speak truth to him. And he's been really awesome. I mean, I love that I have a partner who supports me in that. And
Yeah.
he knows when I'm honest with him like that, like I'm not kidding around. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I need a break now,
Mama
not
speaks
later.
up. Right.
Yeah.
You better
Not
listen.
later, not when he has time, like I need
Yeah.
a break now. So luckily I have a really, really supportive husband in that. So he knows when I
Yes.
break down. But I found it's not easy to be honest,
No.
especially in the postpartum phase.
Yeah, you don't even know what you're feeling, let alone what your spouse is feeling. And I'll speak to the fact that try to be mindful that your spouse has emotions too. Not
Yes.
that you shouldn't share yours, but that you should also be receptive to his. Because I wasn't the most receptive to Ben's on my first
Mm,
baby. I'll put it that way. Like I'm
right.
going through all the things. My body is crazy. I don't even know it's my body, right? I'm
Yeah,
just like, what
right.
is going
It's
on?
not your body. I call them
Not.
working boobs. I'm like, these
My
are working
body
boobs.
has
They
been
are. They
hijacked.
are.
Yes,
Right.
this baby has hijacked my body. Well, it was like, I don't know. I want to say 3 weeks in or 3 months. I can't really remember. But Ben came to me and he was like, "I just want to know, are we ever going to be back to normal?" And I'm like, "Oh,
Mm,
it just hit me." And I was just like, "I'm so sorry that I have not been giving you the time that you need." I said, "This is in a way our new normal, but it's going to get better. I know it's going to
better.
get easier." And just encouraging him in that
Yes.
because he didn't know what to expect with those things too, right?
No.
So,
And my
anyway,
husband's not a big newborn baby. He
oh,
doesn't connect very well with newborns.
no.
I love the newborn phase. He struggles with it because he knows he's like, I can't ever make him happy or her happy. Like,
Yes,
you're not the mama, and like the baby just comes close to you and smells you, and it's like magic, and he
it's
doesn't have that magic.
mhm,
My husband really struggled with that. He wanted to
yeah,
know. He's like, I have to share you all the
yeah,
time. I just have my wife to myself, but
yes,
yeah, you really do find a groove later. And he really connects with them once they turn like about a year and a half, two.
yeah,
And they have personalities and they can have daddy games. And like,
yes,
he just loves it. So I think with this third one, he's really realized, hey, I just need to get through the newborn phase and then I'll
mhm.
have this really awesome connection with them later. But
It's
yeah,
so
it's
funny you
hard to
said
see
that.
in the future.
Yeah, Ben said the same thing. Newborn's not really his jam.
Hmm.
Funny because when they get where they got a little personality, and Trent, especially our third one, he has been dada, dada, dada. First word, dada. Okay, kid, I got it. You love your daddy. Okay, can you say mama one time? He looked at me and I say, mama, dada, on purpose, right? On purpose.
Yeah.
So Ben loves that, would eat it up, right? He's been staying home with the boys. And now he's like, if I hear dad dad one more time, because with the toddler is like his most difficult phase. The other two, he can throw them in the truck and put them on a tractor, like ride around with him kind of thing.
Yes.
Not with the third one. Even at 18 months or 19, I've lost count. He's the third kid. I don't know how old he is. Sorry.
No, that's
But
okay.
what you
I
said to
totally
me,
understand. I don't even know what day it is right now in this
well,
pandemic.
yes, doesn't
I'm
matter.
losing my days.
Right. What you said right there about the smells and how that's magic and daddy doesn't have that, it made me think if you are needing time to yourself and you want to feel less guilty and obviously leave whoever has the baby stocked with milk because that's the only thing that matters, right?
Hmm.
But have like a clothing item or a blanket or something that you've been around so they can smell you and have that
Hmm.
peace that really makes a huge difference. Just hit me when you said I was like, yes, yes, smells
I
definitely.
know my midwife said that to me and I had never known it. I was like, how does he even know me from anyone out? Like, he can't even
Mhm.
see that well. Like, I don't
Yep.
get it. And she's like, oh, honey, you smell the same on the inside as you do on the
Yeah.
outside. And I was like, wait a minute.
I know.
Really?
It's
Really?
crazy.
Like, God does amazing things. Our bodies are like amazing. I
Yes.
mean, so yeah, yeah,
And
knowing
the
that
sound of
baby
your voice.
smells you. Yeah, the sound of
Mhm.
your voice, like, It's
And I hear
really,
those
really
little baby
powerful.
coos. They sound so pretty. Yes, they do. Uncle
Yeah.
Ben's not gonna like that, buddy, because mommy will have another one right now. Would. Oh, gracious.
Oh.
Wow, girl. Thank you so
Um,
much. This has been so
it's
fun.
been nice to
Just
catch up.
a
Thank you
pleasure
for
talking
inviting
to
me.
you. Yes, for sure. I was joking around with Ben. I was thinking about high school and gosh, like it's probably been 20 years since I've talked to Heidi.
Yeah,
Really, like that is insane that it's
I
been
know.
that long. And then I flashed back to physics class, Mr. Emerson's class. I know you remember that class because nobody knew what they were doing in
Yes,
there,
I do.
right? It was a complete
No.
disaster. And I love Mr. Emerson to death. Physics is a whole nother beast. I didn't like physics in college either. Sorry, people. And I became a PT.
No.
Whatever. So I remember us sitting at the one of the tables or whatever, and we just got one of our tests back. And you were sitting across from me and you were comforting me in just such the nicest friend way ever. You were like, Lynn, it's okay to get a B, right? Because I got a B on my test, and you're like, it's really okay. Like you were trying to be so nice to me. And I remember it's to this day being so mean, and I never apologized to you for it. But I was like, Heidi, I don't know about you, but I'm getting an A. I was just like, and I think about that all the time. Like that was, I should have just
Ah.
called you and said, you know what? Remember that day? I'm sorry I was so mean. I was clearly struggling with some confidence issues and some like identity issues because I had to get an A, right? And now today I'm like, A, is it complete? Is it like, did I have an
Like,
assignment? Did I forget?
right. We're going for participation
I
award.
know. Now I'm at participation award. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So I just laugh thinking about that because my hard headedness and my like have to have it my way. So if anybody's listening to this,
Oh, well, I didn't even
right,
remember that, but apology
girl.
totally accepted and forgiven.
Thank you. Thank you. Because clearly I've carried that with me for 20 years, like thinking
Yeah.
about that moment. It was not one of my finest. So
But
yeah, you were just
we've
trying
all
to be
had
so
them.
nice and put things in perspective, just like any good friend would do. And I was like, Heidi, I don't know about you, but I'm getting an A.
Nay.
But anyway, girl,
Oh,
you are so
funny.
beautiful and so fun to talk to. Thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Well,
How
thank
can I pray
you.
for you guys? What do you need prayer for? Obviously, keeping your mind in the newborn phase. I got that.
Yes, yes. I would say the biggest thing is, we're gonna have our family trying to travel out here probably
Okay.
in July and June to
Okay.
finally come see this grandbaby. And
Yay.
I just want health and protection over all of
Yes.
us, to be able to, you know, be able to have family come visit and us all be safe because they have to fly, and it just
Yep.
makes you nervous.
I hear
So
you, girl.
that would be the biggest thing, but I can't wait for him to meet some of the family,
Oh gosh.
so in
I know time
person.
can't move fast enough, right? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I love that. Well, sure. Let's pray together. Let me pray for you.
Okay.
God, thank you so much for my friend. Thank you for giving us this chance to talk. Thank you for amongst having 6 children between us, that we have had a solid hour of peace and beauty, baby coos, and all the fun things to talk about. God, that was truly a divine appointment right there, just to have peace for that time with this many children and just the 2 of us in the household. Thank you so much for that and for just being faithful in all of your ways, God, that through a pandemic, you were right there with Heidi and her husband and baby Gage, and just for the smooth delivery that they were able to have. We just praise you for that. God, I thank you for the time that they've had as a family to be able to soak up and enjoy this baby phase, and for her husband being able to have a job. Lord, that's a huge blessing and puts a lot of anxiety to the side. And I thank you for that too, for providing through Brandon's job. And thank you for what you got in store for them this summer with fun, baby times with family and grandmas and grandpas and aunts and uncles getting to meet baby Gage and reunite. Lord, I pray for all families that are looking forward to that time to reunite, even my family with a billion reunions every year. I just thank you that we can hopefully this summer get back together. But Lord, I pray specifically for Heidi's family traveling across the country and meeting together, and Lord, protect them on that plane. Lord, I pray that everybody that's flying and all the pilots and everybody would be safe and protect them from the coronavirus and anything that could bring them harm. God, I just pray your protection over them. Lord, I pray favor over Heidi and baby Gage and all her children and her husband, for their marriage, for what you have in store for them this year. God, I just believe for your favor and blessing in their lives. And I just thank you that she willingly accepts that and believes that because she stands on your word as well. And I thank you for that common faith and sisterhood in Christ. And I just pray you just be right there with them and let baby Gage grow strong and healthy and handsome as he already is. And again, we just thank you for this time and the blessing it's been. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Good News Mama. If you did, please leave me a review on iTunes. A 5-star review is best. And hit subscribe. Share with your friends on Instagram and Facebook. Please email me at lynn@goodnewsmama.com. You know I love questions. I love feedback. I want to know what you want to know. We're going to talk about what means something to you. So let's hear it. Follow me on Instagram at Good News Mamas. That's mamas with an S. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Keep your head up, keep your heart humble, and share that good news.